It's time for someone to ban away Amaterasu from EmilZy. He's just looked far too comfortable on it. If I'm playing up against Obey and I'm a mid laner, I do not want to see him on that. It's just so difficult to get away from.
Yeah, that's definitely a big problem right there, especially when you have faith in maniaK to play the Guardian that you need on the other side. That's one of the big things when you're playing the Amaterasu is the fact that she has a lack of true peel outside of the ultimate, which you're usually using to initiate, because one of the better initiations around.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need pure peel for your backline, or even for your or even a chase down. So if you have the Guardian in the solo or the jungle, that's when you can bring out the Amaterasu support.
It's going to be Hunbats and Cabrakan banned away by Sanguine. Sylvanas and Thoth, very similar from Obey. If I'm Obey, this is a first pick Amaterasu, but no, they're going to just keep on keeping on with that Ratatoskr. If it worked, I mean, no problem with that. CaptainTwig had a phenomenal game on it. Yeah,
it's really funny that we were focused so much on everybody besides CaptainTwig, and I guess maniaK was a little quiet there.
Sure.
But Ratatoskr, CaptainTwig, was setting up a lot of what was started there. It seemed like the 1-2 punch was a lot between the support and the mid lane Vulcan, but Ratatoskr set up things a little bit later on in the game. He will have problems versus Poseidon, though, who can definitely punish him for landing in the wrong spot.
Definitely, and the stun from Fafnir can set up that whirlpool immediately, which makes life difficult for a character like Ratatoskr or anyone with mobility, which could include Amaterasu. Zeus locked in for Prime. That's scary. Anytime PrettyPriMe gets Zeus, I'm a little scared. But you can say the same for Vulcan. You can say the same for a lot of gods for PrettyPriMe, and it is going to be Amaterasu. I just love the ubiquity of this draft for Obey. You don't know where the Ratatoskr, sure, probably jungle, but maniaK can probably play it in solo, and we assume that Amaterasu is probably going to support for EmilZy, but maniaK could probably also play that in solo.
I think maniaK could play all three of these characters in solo, Zeus included.
You can't play Zeus solo.
maniaK probably could.
I mean, he could. He could press the buttons and do some stuff, but it probably wouldn't be conducive to a team victory.
I don't know if he'd go 0-6-1.
Probably not.
Sanguine finished up their draft with an Ullr there. Strong choice for likely Nika.
Yes.
Mr. Stefan definitely more of a traditional mage player, and with Poseidon already on the board. The Izanami will be banned out against Obey Alliance, understanding that Ataraxia still has its choice available.
Yes, I like that choice there to ban away that Izanami. Like we mentioned, not nearly as feared as she was at the beginning of Season 4, but Ataraxia was playing this god before she became feared and popular, so you know he's very, very comfortable on it. I like this ban. Hercules was banned last time by Obey, this time picked up by Sanguine. This composition looks so much stronger for Sanguine right off the bat. I like it way more.
I don't think the teams lose. I think very rarely, if ever, teams lose a game in picks and bans. Last game was probably one of them that you could put up for the argument. The draft just didn't work well together, nor did it work well against the opposition. Here for Sanguine right away, there's synergy with what Fafnir is going to work with Poseidon, like you said earlier. Hercules is going to work fantastically. Geb's going to be able to protect the Ullr and the Poseidon should things go awry like last time. Already enjoy this a lot better.
Is it Fafnir solo? Or Fafnir jungle?
I think it's an Ullr mid, Poseidon jungle.
Okay, so what's in the duo lane, Tom?
Let's get into the game, and I'll tell you in just a moment. I don't have to guess when I have the game right in front of me.
Must be nice.
Pretty much, we are going to have DeathDodo on the Hercules, and it will be a
Geb
jungle.
I don't get it. I mean, maybe MikeTheMagikarp knows something that we don't, but when you have a performance as bad as he had game one, and you know he has this reputation of not being at the same level as other SPL junglers, and then you get stomped like that, and then you go into Geb, does that really help your reputation if you're a guy like MikeTheMagikarp in this scenario? And again, unless he knows something that we don't, and they've been practicing with this consistently, and it's very strong, in which case we'll see during this game, but very, very curious for me.
Yeah.
And how?
What infiltration?
It's Tarnation, actually.
You haven't seen the one with the Brita filter with the hat on?
We're already at that point? We're talking memes already?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yep. Well, so Speedruff gets invaded because of the pressure that you get from Zeus Ratatoskr in the middle lane. No one's out clearing that. I like this rotation to the left side by Mr. Steph and Ataraxia and EmilZy caught in a bad spot. Force use purification, dash out of the whirlpool. EmilZy caught in the middle of 3. I don't think he has his dash available, but he does have that movement speed aura. He is out.
That is not
He's out.
It's just not acceptable. And to be honest with you, it's not Sanguine doing anything incorrect. It's just Obey. I mean, it's an Amaterasu. Ataraxia chose the right pathing, and that's really not a fantastic play by Obey or a bad play by Sanguine. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. 4 versus 2, and you just don't have the buttons to press.
MikeTheMagikarp did manage to steal away the speed buff with the help of DarkDodo and the blue buff, so both Obey and Sanguine invade each other on that right-hand side. CaptainTwig and PrettyPriMe now have arrived on the left to help out with the duo lane invade. On the purple buff, though, it was already secured by Sanguine. Red buff is going to be taken by Obey, so overall, it looks like Obey is going to get ahead in terms of buff secure here, 3-2.
Nice little flip, and the kick not going to come through till later. Maniac in trouble, could be soloed right here. A couple more basics will do it. In fact, just one more.
Wow.
But DarkDodo can't find it just yet. Maniac staying in lane, taunting the opposition.
I think it was just the low health voice line.
Don't believe it. Needs the heal from the sickening
Maniac
strike.
would be the type of dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
well, Maniac
yeah,
is staying here looking for the flip.
Oh,
he gets
but
flipped
DarkDodo
himself.
gets blocked, but DarkDodo misses the driving strike. Can't quite time it right there. And Maniac does have another health potion ticking, and with the heal up from Sickening Strike, is able to sustain in lane for a little bit longer. This is a great opportunity for CaptainTwig to go over to that right-hand side. Maniac could very easily bait himself on low health before DarkDodo hits hits level 5 and gets access to that ultimate.
Right now, teams trying to figure things out here in the lanes. Nice little turnaround. Oh, MikeTheMagikarp looking for a gank. So realistically, this Geb jungle, if he had a blink, he'd have a fantastic gank in the sense that he shows up, cataclysms, that's all well and good.
Sure.
He doesn't really have the blink, so he has to come from behind, looking for the rollout to find a strong knockback, which this is what he's going to do. If perfectly executed, this is actually a really interesting gank right here. Finds a fantastic knockback. That's what you're looking for out of this Geb jungle if you're actually looking for anything. MikeTheMagikarp pulls it off, but they opt instead to kill the minions instead of taking the easily killed Sobek.
Well, he'd already used Driving Strike, they'd used Rollout, and MikeTheMagikarp actually pushed Maniac to safety in that scenario. There's the ultimate from MikeTheMagikarp and the Sunder, and CaptainTwig still about half HP and says, I'll show you what a real jungler can do. The knockup from the Ratatoskr directly into Lurking the Waters from Maniac. Dazzling Offense also needed to secure the kill, but it is going to be first blood onto that Geb jungle.
No surprise. Zero surprise the Geb jungle is the first one to die right here, folks. Geb seems to be, Geb needs a skin where he has a white flag. The last time we saw Geb in the middle lane from Giliara over in the console league, they got stomped in game number 1. He said, all right, guys, I guess I'm going to go Geb mid. Sanguine doesn't really have a fantastic performance in game number 1, and MikeTheMagikarp brings out the Geb jungle. Like I said, realistically, if I have to really put on my thinking glasses, right, and really think about what odd world we're in, that Geb jungle is a viable pick, you're looking for a gank coming from behind for that fantastic knockback that the rollout gives you into a potential good stun if you have a blink from the Cataclysm into the knockup. But realistically, MikeTheMagikarp on this Geb just, I don't really think that this is a serious pick. I think in 100% seriousness that Sanguine just threw caution to the wind and decided to say screw it and do something fun and silly because they don't think they can beat Obey.
And that's concerning to be in week 2.
That's extremely concerning.
To be, if that is the case, which I don't disagree with you.
So yeah, I gotta say, mate, there is of course the possibility that I am just an observer and I am incorrect, but frankly, this just seems a little bit disrespectful from Sanguine. And if you're a team that's on the bottom side of things, you got to be focusing on improving and trying to do better, as opposed to just sort of like, well, we lose this one. Every outing is a learning opportunity. In game number 1, if you watch the tape, there are things to be learned from. You could look at the starting build. The fact that Mr. Stefan just had a Bombus Mask and no sustain out of any of his starter items. That could be something to look at. You could look at the composition. You could look at the pathing. There are so many things to learn when you're going up an opponent that is stronger than yourself that I just don't like this thought process coming out from Sanguine.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's just sad to be in week 2, and we're already at that point.
A little bit rough here, but either way, Obey, not exactly off to a quick start. In fact, this start versus the curious composition might actually be slower than the first one. 1 kill on the board so far, just first blood, but we do see about a 2,000 gold lead, give or take, a little bit here or there, at the 6-minute mark.
So this time around, as far as the duo composition between EmilZy and PrettyPriMe, looking for the mobile mid laner and Mr. Stefan, it's going to be a lot harder because Zeus has to be much closer. The dive onto Zeus is good, and Mr. Stefan able to put Sanguine on the board there. That's exactly what you want to do up against Zeus. Find him alone and exposed. No Aegis used by PrettyPriMe in that scenario. May have been stunned out by DeathDodo or by DeathPanter as well. Nice pick there by Sanguine.
I just like the pathing coming out from Sanguine. I think that was very intelligent, understanding where on the map the opponent would be, just getting their timers right. And you know what? This is going to be very interesting here to watch. To watch this composition really get punished. Because if EmilZy's in trouble, nice Geb ultimate, going to be combined with the ultimate from DeathDodo. One more hit should secure it, meditation, and help from the jungler. And MikeTheMagikarp gets tossed around. Trouble as well for DeathDodo as Ataraxia makes the rotation. Any other character, Ryan? Any other character? That's a clean pick for Sanguine, and they move on to more. And this is what I was going to say, is that I want to see Sanguine excel in this game, and I want to see them do well, and I want to see them get the gold lead, and then when they lose, it's just because they don't have a jungler. Because right now, they are playing better than they did in game number 1, sans MikeTheMagikarp. And
I'd agree with that.
And as a teammate, I would be infuriated. And I would be, this is...
Well, either way, they're going to have a tough hill to climb up against Obey, regardless of what they have in the jungle, because Obey looks to be one of the better teams in Europe early on here in Season 4. And that's saying a lot, because for me, as far as regions go, Europe seems to be the stronger of the two, just based on the eye test. I mean, you look at teams like Valence Squadron, Dignitas, Energy, Obey. That top 4 alone is terrifying as far as skill level goes.
The fact that Energy have... So Energy, I want to draw attention to the fact that Energy generally come into seasons a little bit drier than some of the other squads. So the fact that they struggled a little bit early on is not a surprise to me with how strong these teams are. That's really the key there. MikeTheMagikarp turns around and looks towards EmilZy. DeathPanter gets the kill off of the ultimate from the mid lane. Nice Cataclysm coming out of Mike, but he gets killed by Ataraxia with no follow-up damage. Support, DeathPanter jumps over the wall, and it's a 4-on-4 here. EmilZy and Mike out for pretty much the same amount of time. Gold Fury will be started by the remainder of Obey. PrettyPriMe does have his ultimate available.
That's the big key right now. Maniac looking for the pluck, but a nice stun from DeathPanter, but he's going to lose that Dragon Form very soon. Right there. Actually immunes the knockup, but he's still locked in place for quite some time. Able to jump towards the mid lane. Nice double push. The boulder has already been used. PrettyPriMe uses Lightning Storm and walks right into Mr. Stefan, who cleans him up.
Dodo, fantastic play right here on the Hercules. Basically kills one. The kill goes to Stefan, but he kills that player. Ataraxia, the second player that gets into danger because of the Hercules. DeathDodo just that was a fantastic play out of the solo laner.
Very, very nicely done.
Exactly what he needed to do.
In that situation, I love the call from Obey because they bait DeathPanter in, knowing that he's going to run out of Dragon Form soon. He's going to transform back into the Dwarf, and of course, he's so vulnerable during that time. It was just unfortunate timing by CaptainTwig because he actually, if he had just waited until he had transformed back, then you can start the CC chain, knock him up, make sure he can't use underhanded tactics to get towards that mid lane or get away from anybody. Instead, knocks him up at the wrong time, doesn't get any sort of knockup because of it, and as such, DeathPanter able to get away.
Really just couldn't follow up the underhanded tactics there. Tough.
That's the jump.
That's the jump. I knew that.
That's the one.
Absolutely.
Third ability.
10 minutes in, 4-3.
Disarms.
4-3 are the kills. God, I can't deal with you. I just can't deal with you, Aggro.
Why is that?
You're just so forehead.
That's true.
That's your entire existence. Feeling that way in game number 2. Although, like I said, Sanguine playing better here in game number 2 than they did in game number 1, despite the fact that this camp jungle has realistically, I mean, the Cataclysm, nothing really came off of it. So I'm ready to eat my words. I am 100% ready to eat all of the nonsense that I've tossed towards this team if this camp jungle winds up having a positive influence.
Twig can't quite reach with the Through the Cosmos, but the dazzling offense right onto MikeTheMagikarp into the Lightning Storm. PrettyPriMe puts him in the ground immediately. MikeTheMagikarp falls. maniaKK finds the pluck onto DeathDodo, who has the boulder, but I don't know if he's got enough mobility to get away from this lurking in the waters. He won't. Twig picks him up.
Yeah, just stuck there. Nothing really for that Hercules to do, despite his heroism last time around. Didn't quite have the bloodlust to find the kills this time. maniaKK taking 2-on-1 just now.
Just deciding to make sure that Mr. Stefan can't back because he can. Diving a tier 2 tower because he can.
That right there is maniaKK. The Gold Fury goes down. Pretty much clean and clear. That's maniaKK, and a lot of people that were newer to SMITE, kept asking me like why I was so excited to see maniaKK back in the league, and he does things like that. He is one of the solo laners. He's the old guard of solo laners that plays more in your mind than on your board, and he's gonna bully you and condition you to be afraid of him in that specific game, and that's the style attitude that, one, it's fun to watch play, and two, it's addicting to get excited about.
Obey able to secure that portal demon over top of the Kraken there from Mr. Stefan. Couldn't quite do enough damage to maniaKK or the portal demon in time to get that to be red.
EmilZy stuck here. Whirlpool going to keep him slowed. Forced to use the ultimate to find himself safely underneath his tier 1 tower. EmilZy about 40-50% HP, slowly ticking up thanks to the heal. Opting not to go home, but instead to get some farm before heading back.
May as well. You've got much better clear on this Amaterasu support than you do on most other Guardians.
Yeah.
These supports don't often get to solo clear buffs because it takes them too long, but EmilZy's like, this is my chance, dude. I finally get to do things by myself a little bit.
Exactly. So EmilZy picks that up. Medusa pushes up on the left-hand side. Not enough to really get a tower or nothing, but just threatening Nika. 0, and 2 for the Hunter. Nika has been, and do you think it's more the position, the rest of the team, or something else that Nika made such an impact? He was so noisy last season in the solo lane. He was one of the go-to rookie players, not just rookies, but just a strong solo overall. Why is he he has so much less of an impact in these games in Season 4? Do you think it's the fact that he moved over to the Hunter and his team doesn't get that late? Is the team surrounding him just not as strong as it used to be? Or is it the fact that he's simply not a solo laner?
I mean, he used to be a Hunter before he moved over to the solo lane, so he is a little bit familiar with that role. Yep. Still taking him a little bit of time to get comfortable there. I do think we'll see him improve as the season goes on, but as far as the rest of the team goes, he just hasn't had an impact because of how hard they've lost their jungle, at least in Game 1 and in Game 2 thus far, up against Lion Guard as well. FrostYAK just controlled the game.
Surprise out of their own jungle. Sanguine gets collapsed on. MikeTheMagikarp 0-5-1 so far here inside of our 13th minute. Kraken comes out. Really, nobody minds. Everybody's still half HP or above. And the enemy jungle just going to go ahead and get taken. I loved the sequence there from Obey. Again, a very clearly choreographed play. Obey hide in the enemy speed buff and then go for the kills.
Lots of damage put out by Prime there with that Chain Lightning Twig around the backside. Doesn't have that ultimate, but he's lurking, looking for Nika or Mr. Stefan. Just zones him out a little bit, make sure Obey can secure that tier 1 tower in middle. Fire Giant is up, but that's a little ambitious for Obey at this stage in the game instead, trying to siege this down.
DeathPanter flipped up into the team, immediately switches into the dragon form, and here comes the Sanguine pushback. maniaKK with the ultimate, doesn't get much damage off. CaptainTwig in the jungle. I think Sanguine are aware. You can see DeathPanter kind of showing his face in that direction.
Eyed him up a little bit. Dashes in onto Ataraxia, the stun, but immediately flipped back into the damage from Medusa. Nice pluck there by DeathDodo, but a huge Petrify from Ataraxia is going to pick up 2.
That was the largest Petrify I think I've seen in competitive SMITE. All 5 players hit. None of them hit turn to stone. All of them made the turnaround, but the AoE damage coming out from the Hunter is what makes that so scary. Hunter's supposed to single target you down and then is able to nail 5 players,
nice
kill the Hercules. that's what you got to do.
Ataraxia has really transformed as a hunter in my mind since
I agree.
Just before Super Regionals last year. During Super Regionals, he looked phenomenal. At Worlds, he looked great as well. You know what it's been in my mind?
What?
In the group stages, Ataraxia gets soloed by Vote NBK. And he gets off the stage. I'm not even trolling you right now. He gets off the stage and says, that's the first time I've been soloed in competitive play. I've got nothing else to lose anymore.
Yep.
The first solo's the worst. It's out of the way. Now I can just do whatever I want in that lane. And he has played so much just better as a player ever since. It might be coincidence, but I'm not convinced that it is.
Knowing the way that Ataraxia, his first name being Nate, knowing the way that Nate works, I think I'm with you on that one. It definitely works out that way. Now, I have to defend my man Ataraxia really quick, because otherwise I'll get a really aggressively polite DM about it. The fact that Raxia, I want to strike away the idea that Ataraxia was ever a passive player. He was a calculated player that did not always go for the fight, and that does not necessarily make you passive. If you really want to see passive, dig out some classic footage of old Barracuda or old Youngbei even. Youngbei probably being the quintessential Neath under the tower, do nothing hunter. Raxia was always calculated in the fights that he took, and now he's just taking more of the fights because he has more of the team on his shoulder.
It just feels like so much more confidence from him.
That's what it is.
He's not double guessing himself. He's not thinking twice about every move he's making. He's just saying, I have the confidence that I'm going to outplay you. I'm going to hit more autos than you. I'm going to position better than you. And then he just ends up doing it. He's 5-0-1 right now, top of the player damage charts, and looking like one of the better hunters in Europe.
For me, it was the hair. The second Raxia decided to grow the hair out, he became a new man. I know what that's like. PrettyPriMe running away, and there it is again. Raxia with one, PrettyPriMe with another. CaptainTwig gets the third. It's eaten at the table for the family. Obey take out the tier 1 tower, easy peasy. maniaKK shows late after taunting the opposition in the solo lane. DeathDodo can't handle the Sobek. And maniaKK leading the charge here for Obey. As soon as I say that, EmilZy walks in front of him, but still, Obey tearing up the left side.
I think I know why you like maniaKK so much. He is Sobekitude.
He is the definition of Sobekitude.
That's why you like him so much.
Absolutely. And so, you know, to stretch that, he was always the European Omega in my eyes. These two players exemplified what the solo lane was in 2015. The solo lane, you are a tanky monstrosity. Your job is to, majority of the time, zone. You have a lot more on your plate, but think zoning. Omega and maniaKK had this aura around them where you could not step within a certain distance, otherwise you get beat up, either mentally or physically. They're either going to taunt you, they're going to wreck you, they're going to stun you for no reason. They're just going to mess with your day. And at the end of the day, that's fun for me to watch, especially out of the solo.
I remember my first game up against Omega whenever Envy came over to the console scene. He beat me up physically and mentally.
I believe that. He just gets in there and screws up your Christmas.
4-man knock up there. Twig able to pick up DeathPanter, DeathDodo. Nowhere for him to go. MikeTheMagikarp eats his 8th death on this Geb. He did hit level 12 though, so we really out here with a second relic.
He hit level 12. He has 50% kill participation for his team. 2 assists out of the 4 kills for Sanguine. Definitely.
That earns my shortest yeah boy ever. Yeah boy. Yeah boy.
He is not bottom on the damage chart. That's got to get credit. Yeah, boy.
Yeah boy.
Just real quick, like.
My shortest.
My shortest yeah boy ever. Yeah, boy. Nice and quick. Right side, nice and quick. 25% on the tower. Down it will go. Easy peasy. 16-4. Shy of 20 minutes on the clock here. Obey. Looking for the right side, Phoenix.
DeathPanter does have a frenzy ritual here, trying to get a little bit of defense options for Sanguine. We saw them do this in game 1, and it did buy them a little bit of extra time.
Who you taunting, DeathDodo? Not allowed to taunt right there. There's the frenzy. Here comes Sanguine in for the kill. Obey. They need to respond after the Kraken.
And they're going to. MikeTheMagikarp, he's already down. Detonate, able to pick him off. DeathPanter can't jump because of the silence from EmilZy. Ataraxia pick him up. Nice knock up in the backside. Twig finds Stefan. DeathDodo falls as well. It's only Nika. 0-0-3 for the Hunter. He's avoided the bloodbath, but he's been the only one on Sanguine to do so.
Right now, Obey's only comment to Sanguine across the way is, yeah, boy! 20-4. Obey take the win.
Thanks for that, Tom. Thanks for that most medium yeah boy ever.
It was pretty medium. It was better than Geb Jungle. Taco,
sure was.
Break it down.
Well, that final score was 20-4, but I prefer to look at it as 420 because Obey was pretty lit that set. And overall, just excellent gameplay coming out on the side of Obey. They had a lot of map control, a lot of map presence, and more importantly, objective control, which led to their massive gold leads that we saw coming out from them in games number 1 and number 2. Game 1 especially, we saw Obey just going ahead from the get-go, just automatically in the lead, just no way for really Sanguine to try and make any sort of response or comeback. They just seem so comfortable on the side of Obey with not only their engagements, but their disengagements, and more importantly, they just kept applying non-stop pressure, and we especially saw pressure coming out from Ataraxia, which, like F. mentioned, he isn't necessarily the most passive hunter as much as he is a calculated one, but this season he's really been combining his calculations with a lot of aggression, which is vital for him, considering that it's definitely helped him in asserting himself in the hunter role, and he's definitely shaping up to be one of the more potent hunters in EU. You can see that especially, he was just on a non-stop roll with his Ullr, just combination after combination, auto attacks, securing, and non-stop kills coming out from Ataraxia. He was having quite a lot of fun. You can see right now just completely chasing down the back line, no fear whatsoever, going ahead, getting up in Zeus's face on Mr. Stefan to secure that triple kill, and definitely having just more than enough fun with that Ullr, which he seems to be making into one of his signature characters for this season, which doesn't surprise me in the slightest, considering that Ataraxia is always favored a little bit more of the off-meta hunters, but Ullr looks like he's about to become in-meta really soon. And then in game number 2, we saw Obey, once again, just absolutely dominant and controlling of the map the entire time. Sanguine didn't really have much of an opportunity to really retaliate or come back. They had a lot of lack of map pressure and presence, and largely due to the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of synergy coming out from the Geb jungle into the mid lane. It's just really difficult for any kind of setup potential to come through, even though the concept behind it is a solid one. Obey just went ahead and capitalized on that lack of early game on the side of Sanguine. And again, we just saw Ataraxia shining through on the Medusa this time around, hitting one of the biggest ultimates on Medusa that we've probably ever seen in competitive SMITE. That Petrify, absolutely potent. Going ahead, securing a double kill for himself as well as a tower. And again, just another huge Petrify coming out, securing only 1 kill this time around, but helping his team go ahead and capitalize off of things, and where they were able to get 3 out of 5. And then here we see CaptainTwig on the Ratatoskr. Definitely doesn't want to let Ataraxia take all the shine this time around, and landing a pretty large ultimate on Ratatoskr, which ultimately led to him going ahead and helping his team secure kills. And that was also a pretty large turning point where they were just going ahead and taking whatever they wanted, and that's pretty much the story behind Obey for this set. They did whatever they wanted, and there just wasn't really much of a response from Sanguine, but it's really hard to try and retaliate when you're that far behind 2 games in a row. So ultimately, congratulations to Obey for going ahead and securing another 2-0 victory for themselves, which will mean another 3 points going into next week for them. And so we can go ahead and take a look at the standings and how the schedule is for what we have to come, because that's not all the SMITE action that we have coming your way, guys. We're actually going to be seeing, you know, on the side of EU, the top teams that are coming out, which will be Valence Squad, Obey Alliance, Team Dignitas, all shaping up to be really top contenders this season, and ultimately having a really good time considering that they all picked up very comfortable 2-0s today, which I'm sure that all those teams are more than excited about. But like I mentioned, guys, that isn't all the SMITE action that we have coming your way. We're also going to be seeing North America tomorrow, again, at 1 o'clock here on Hi-Res TV, which is really fun because we're going to have some really important matches coming out between Eager and Enemy. You've got Soar versus Luminosity, and then we see Memory of Gabe and Allegiance versus Noble. I mean, ultimately, just a lot of fun sets, a lot of exciting sets, because a lot of these games are going to help shape up to determine where North America is going to be after their second week in the SPL. So just remember, guys, 1 p.m., Hi-Res TV. Make sure that you're there because you're not going to want to miss these matches, and we hope to see you tomorrow.